This is the third virtual training event we've done for Wiser. I hope you're finding them beneficial. One of the things we're going to look at today is moving on from what we did last week. So if you remember last week, we upgraded the training board to a 2-channel, a thermostat kit 2, and added the room stat. So room stat is still added to the system. So what I'll do today is I'm going to take you through how to add more devices, how we manage those devices. If we need to do any sort of range extension with the Wiser plug, we'll have a look at that. But the primary focus is really going to be on the smart radiator thermostat. As always, if you've got any questions as we go along, stick them in the comments, and once I've done the demo, I'll come back in and we'll deal with the questions. So first thing I'll do is let me move you in so you can see the training board. Okay, so I'm going to have a stab at doing this on the iPad this week, because I believe that we had a few issues with you being able to see what was going on with the app. So first thing is, obviously it's been a week, so we need to get back into it. We haven't registered the system yet because we haven't handed it over to the customer. So I'll just take you back through how you would get back into it. This is very much like if you would, say, go out to the van or go off to lunch and then come back and try and pick it up. This is the process you'd have to go through. So first thing is, on the app, back into this screen, we hit setup, create an account. The app asks us to press the setup button, so we hit quick press on that just to get it flashing. Remember, when it's flashing, that's broadcasting the network, which we will then connect to. So if we then zoom in on the app, we'll just step our way through like we've done before. Open our settings, into Wi-Fi, pick up the Wiser Heat network, wait for it to stabilize. Take that in a little bit tighter so you can hopefully see what's going on. As soon as it's stabilized, back into the Wiser Heat app. And you're at the stage now, let's set up your heating system. So this is all well-trodden ground, what we did last week. Hit next. We've already defined what the boiler type and the cycling rate's going to be. So we just hit next, and then we're straight back in to this. Remember, this is the landing screen. So last week we did a room thermostat. I will do another one just to refresh your memory. So remember, with this, off with the cover, open the batteries compartment at the back, just slide those off. 2 AA batteries into your room stat, like that. And this is the screen that you get. Remember this, you get the little Wi-Fi symbol. So now, once you've done that, on the app, hit room thermostat, give them a couple of seconds to see each other. And there you go. You see now the room stat is showing you the ambient temperature in the room. And you've also got the success message on the app. So we hit next. It then wants you to put it into one of the 16 zones. Remember, you've got 16 zones that you can play with here. We've already got hallway defined as the thermostat we did, or the room stat we did last week. So we'll just add a new one. Doesn't really matter what we call it. Let's stick this in the lounge, if I can spell lounge. There we go. Get the confirmation, and you're back to there. So all pretty simple stuff when doing things like the room thermostat. The thing I'm going to talk about next are these radiator thermostats. Now, before you do anything on the app, it's important that you put the batteries into this first. So pop the cover off the back. Again, it's 2 AA batteries. Pop them in. And the reason we do that first is it withdraws the plunger up and underneath. So up inside there is the plunger that pushes down onto the pin on the top of the valve body. As soon as you put the batteries in, the valve opens and it sits in this mode. Red and blue flashing, which means you're in calibration mode. It means it's ready to calibrate. The valve is all the way open, or the head, I should say, is all the way open. The amber in the center tells you that it's now ready to join a network. So first thing is batteries into there. Again, we haven't done anything on the app yet. Next job is to pick the appropriate adapter. Now, we talked about these in a couple of videos ago. That's the Danfoss adapter. So if you've got a Danfoss RA, you can adapt the head to fit on that. We're going to be replacing these here. So it's going to be the M30 by 1.5, this 2-part adapter. So that's the one that we'll choose. What we want to do, take off the OTRV, so usual practice, turn it up to maximum, undo the locking ring, and whip the head off. And now we want to seat the adapter onto the body. So just pop it on and do it up finger tight. And now we can add the head to that. Now at the bottom of the threads here on the head, there's a little O-ring. You probably won't be able to see it, but there is an O-ring, and it's important that we compress that O-ring when we tighten these on. So start the thread off, make sure you don't cross thread it, tighten it around like that. You feel it touch the O-ring, and then give it a good sort of, it's another sort of half a turn almost to get it tight on the O-ring. So what we want is we want the adapter tight to the body, and we want the head tight to the adapter. Now obviously the indicators are facing the wrong way. What we don't want to do is just grab hold of it and twist it back around, because that takes the load off of the O-ring. So we want to make sure that the O-ring's nice and tight, and then if we want to do any adjustment, we then just ratchet it around by loosening off the locking ring. Get it to the position we want, tighten it down. So that's the stage we want to be at for ideal calibration. Adapter tight to body, head tight to adapter. Once that's done, we're now ready to kick off and add it. So on the app, hit Radiator Thermostat. The app has told the hub to try and to expect to see it, and the app tells us now to hold the cap to the plus till it starts pulsing green. And there you go. The app's now, or the hub has now picked it up, tells you success, same sort of success message as you get with the room stat. Hit next. And now it's asking you where you want to put it, where you can put it in the hallway, or where define one of your 16 rooms. So let's, for instance, say we'll stick that in a bedroom. Hit done. And then you're back to the landing page. Now I will go through that once more, because it's really imperative that we get the fitting to the valves correct, because that's normally where we see the biggest issues. If you've got any sort of control issues, it's normally that the head isn't tight with respect to either the body or the adapter. So I will just take you through that again. Incidentally, this one here that we've just added, we can either leave it and it will auto calibrate, or if you hold it to the minus, you can actually do the calibration. So hold to the minus until it drives down. That's now calibrating, and this is how we can adapt to various different valve bodies, and we've got such a good compatibility is because it will go through this auto calibration cycle. So let me just do the same process again. So batteries in to the head, and when you do that, when you first put them in, there's always a bit of a pause where it doesn't look like it's doing anything, but give it a couple of seconds. You'll get the red light. There it is. Valve is driving open, plungers being withdrawn up into the body, and now we're ready to fit the adapter. So TRV off. Pop the adapter on, finger tight. Then on with the head. Feel the O-ring, another almost half a turn. Now we can square up the LEDs by just moving it on the locking ring. Tighten the locking ring, double check that everything's nice and rigid, and now it's all the work on the app. So Radiator Thermostat, hold it to the plus, get the green light pulsing. Green light goes solid, you get the success message on the app. The TRV falls back into calibration mode, so red and blue flashing still. I'll just give you a bit of a close-up on that. Red and blue flashing to tell you that the valve is completely open. It's now green in the centre, which means that it's part of a network. If I was to take the batteries out of that, or if, say, in 18 months' time, the customer comes to change the batteries, they don't need to go through the re-adding process. All they need to do is just take the batteries out, new ones in. It'll come back to this stage, red and blue flashing with the green in the centre. In here, we can add it to a room. Now this one, let me put it in the lounge, say. So this will allow me to show you how you do the grouping of the devices later on. So let's hit done, and that's that device added. Final thing, hold it to the minus for the calibration. So valve is now driving down, stepper motor counting its positions, pushes the pin down. As soon as the pin stores it, that's the 0 reference. And all of the opening will be proportional to what the demand is from that point forward. So it's really, really imperative that you make sure that these are installed correctly. everything's nice and rigid so that the calibration happens, and because it's going to impact on how much flow you get into your radiator. So last thing, and depending on what you're actually adding this for, depends on which order you would do this in, it's the 𝘁𝗱𝗲 plug. Now, I've just added these to a system. We've only got a couple here. If we're starting to add maybe 12 of these, we may want to consider using a 𝘁𝗍𝗱 plug. Remember, you can have 10 of these in addition to all the rest of the devices on the system. And they act as range extenders for the devices network. Important to point out, they're not Wi-Fi boosters. They boost only the devices network that the room stats and the TRVs sit on. So it may well be that we need to fit some of these either for the purpose of a smart plug or for range extension. The way we do that, plug it in, energize it, and you get a little blue light on the top. And now on the app, tell it to expect to see a smart plug, and you press and hold until the blue light flashes rapidly. You get the success message on the app, and it invites us to give it a name. Now, whatever name we give it, that's what it will respond to if we use things like Alexa or Google, any of the IoT stuff, which incidentally, I will be covering that in a future video. I've got a lamp here, so that's going to be what we're going to power up with this. Let me just take you out so you can see that. So we've now got the success message. I've called it lamp. That's all plugged in. Hit the return button, and you're back to the landing page. So we've just added now all of the devices that we're going to add today. So what I'll do now, I'll take you in to the main screen so you can see what the devices are doing. Hit done. Looks like you finished adding devices, which we have, so you hit next. And now it's asking you to connect your Wi-Fi. Again, we don't really want to get into the Wi-Fi side of it. That's more for the customer to do. So crucially, as you can see on this one, it's got this skip button. That's what we're going to hit. And that then takes us in to our overview screen. Now you can see, even though we've got 4 devices added to the system, we're only showing 3 heating zones here because the lounge, we added both the room stat and the TRV. So those there are in the same zone. So this room thermostat is the master control for just this TRV because it's in the same zone. And I'll be able to show you that in the devices menu in a minute. So you can see here all of your zones, all of your 16 zones, if you had that many devices, would appear on this pane here. The plugs appear in this little pane at the bottom. So you can see you've got the toggle there. You can toggle on and off. There we go. So you've got full control of all the system. This can be scheduled as well. So if you want to set a schedule for the plug, you can do. But so long as it's powered in and it's energized, irrespective of whether the face of it is energized by the little button or not, as long as it's powered up, it's providing an access point. So that's the thing to remember. If you're using them for a range extender, make sure they stay powered up. And if they're in an area where it's communal maybe, or it's a corridor where they may get unplugged, maybe you need to label them because if they're strategic to the network. So that's really how we add the devices. I'll take you into the devices menu now. Now this is a really good look at what the system's doing, and let me get you in a bit tighter on that. So you can see of the devices that we've added, we've got 2 room stats. Now they've got to be in separate zones because 2 room stats in one zone doesn't make any sense. There's going to be no benefit. But you can see here that the lounge has got both a room thermostat and a TRV. So that's the principle that this is really the master control for that. So this is really providing just really a flow control device into the radiator, the lounge. That's what's doing the temperature sensing and reporting to the app, and that's what the hub is taking as the ambient temperature. Now we can move things around. So if you want, I can let's go into say the TRV in the bedroom. Let's decide we don't really want it in the bedroom anymore. We can remove it from the room, and when you do that, it shows as in the devices unallocated device. So it doesn't know where it is. What we do then, so it's still part of the network, so it's still polling, it's still every minute it's talking back to the hub. It's just it can't display a temperature for anywhere because it doesn't know where it is. So we'll just add that to, say, another room. Let's stick it in the lounge as well. So the system that we've built up now, we've got 3 devices in the lounge. So again, the lounge room thermostat is controlling these 2 devices. The hallway room stat is doing its own thing. Now, if I was to take the lounge, let's decide actually we don't want the room stat in the lounge, we just want the 2 TRVs. We can absolutely do that. So if we remove it from the room, exactly like we did with the TRV, you get this situation now where the room stat doesn't know where it is, so it can't display anything. But the lounge has got the 2 TRVs, both of those now are in the same zone. So when you go out onto the overview screen, you've just got the one zone called lounge, but it doesn't matter which one of these you make a change to, it will boost and it will act on that zone. So I did a positive boost on that one. If I do a negative boost on this one, you'll see that it drops to the other way. So the devices sit within the zones. You can have a maximum of 4 TRVs and 1 room thermostat per any zone, but you can't max out all 16 zones with 4 and 1 because that will put you over your 32 limit. But you can see it's very adaptable as far as the customer's concerned, and this is the screen really that they're going to spend most of their time on. They don't really know what temperature sensing devices there are in the lounge. They just know that they want to set the lounge to a particular temperature, and the hub will work out and coordinate everything that's going on based on the number of devices. Now, you did see also here that there is some in-room control as well. So you've got the plus and minus on the caps. If you twist them, it gives you a 2-degree boost and it lasts for an hour. Now you can do that plus or minus, so you can do a 2-degree increment. So you can see there, I've just twisted it. Lounge has now got a set point of 17.5 and the ambient temperature in here is 15.5. So that's 2 degrees and that's going to last now for an hour. If I go the other way, do a negative boost, you'll see, well, for a start, the zone valve, you had the zone valve closing, and it's now done a boost to 13.5 degrees. And again, that will last for an hour. So 2 degrees either way for an hour. If you're using the room stat, you get a bit more control. So you've got your boost menu on this center button here, and you can step it through. You've got a bit more control over the timing, so you can go anything from 30 minutes up to 3 hours. If you use the boost menu, if you use the plus and minus, what you're essentially doing there is setting either an advance, if you're in the scheduled mode. So if we have a look at the hallway, we can see it's set to schedule. So if I go in on this one and raise the temperature up just by pressing the plus button, you'll see it update on the app. So it's set to 23 degrees. We're now calling for heat. That will last until the next timed event in the schedule. So if we have a look at what the schedule is actually saying, that's going to last now at 23 degrees until 4:30. And then at 4:30, it will revert back and follow the schedule. So if you're in a scheduled mode, auto mode, it will, whatever you set on here will last. If you're in manual, so if you go into there and pop it to manual where you've got the little hand symbol, anything you set here will persist forever. So that's really the basic control of the room thermostats and the devices. I will just show you on here let me bring you up so you can see the plug. So again, you've got your control for your plug in there, which will toggle the light on and off. But you've also got your scheduling menu there, that little clock face. If you go into that, you can go in there and set your ons and offs throughout the day. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So really the things to summarize and to make sure is when you're adding the TRVs, just make absolutely sure that you put your batteries in first, because that opens the valve up wide. So it's not like, I mean, if you try and put one of these on when it's in frost mode, the plunger's all the way down, you're never going to get it onto the body. So make sure as soon as you put the batteries in, the valve's open. Once they're open, select your adapter, fit the adapter to the body, then the head to the adapter, and then the rest of the work is on the app. That's it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you soon on the next one. Thank you.